Coming up on No Pulp, my goodness, what a weekend of college football it was. We had massive games that delivered and then some notable upsets as well. We'll break it all down.
And Dabo continues to choke. Disaster in Death Valley, Clemson playing for its season.
And as well, you will want to stick around for an epic battle in the juicer. Luke Burgess is going to take on Andrew Della Piana. That is must-see TV, and so is the whole show, which starts right now.
The best performance, I think, all year from Ohio State against Oregon in the Rose.
They just don't lose at the shoe.
I love what Juju Watkins has done for the sport of basketball.
To stay alive, can they hook 'em? Touchdown!
They have the most prolific goal scorer of all time.
He will fire.
Well, he's the guy.
I'm the guy.
Ian's the guy today.
Experience is what matters when it comes to Omaha.
Valuable. You know the number is everything for a team.
First time, how are we feeling, Jake?
I'm excited to win the juicer.
That always fires me up. I know that's for sure. And you know that means it's time for another edition of No Pulp after a loaded slate of college football that delivered. He's Luke Burgess. I'm Sam Reis. We're happy to be with you for the next half hour or so. And Luke, we're going to get right to one of those massive games because it occurred in prime time. And what a game it was between Notre Dame and Texas A&M. This had a little bit of everything and was my game of the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable, Sam. A lot of fun. And Marcus Freeman, after the game, he was unhappy very quickly, but he knows that the team has to focus on the future in the near future here.
That's right.
You got to go to work and practice and get better. Like, we're 0-2. So what do you control? You control getting better and getting ready for the next one. I can't sit here and dwell on being 0-2 as much as I need to dwell on how do we find ways to improve. Like, that's what I need to dwell on.
So Marcus Freeman, very candid after the game. An 0-2 start for Notre Dame after that 41-40 nail-biting loss to Texas A&M. And he has a point, Luke. It's still early in the season where you just have to focus at what's ahead for this team, despite a very frustrating way to begin the season after obviously making a deep run in the college football playoff last year.
Yeah, for Notre Dame, the reality is that this team has lost 2 one-score games against 2 very good teams. It's a very tough way to start the year. On the other side of things, Texas A&M picks up its first road win against the top 25 team in over 10 years. 13 straight losses on the road. That's a huge accomplishment for them. And of course, the end of the game as well. Like, when it comes down to it, it's one play, a botched snap on an extra point. Texas A&M would have only had the ability to tie the game rather than taking the lead in the final seconds. And it's a bitter ending, and Notre Dame fans, certainly with high expectations after that national championship appearance a year ago.
Definitely, and as much as you maybe want to talk about, the botched snap and the hold wasn't down, and that ultimately cost them, there were still other times in this game, especially down the stretch in the fourth quarter, where Notre Dame had a chance to win. That's what's so frustrating about this for them, because they probably should have won this game. And even on that last drive against Texas A&M, a penalty in there that helped the Aggies, and then a near interception in the end zone that they couldn't make a play on. Never mind the fact that Texas A&M gets that ultimately game-winning touchdown on a 4th and goal from the 11-yard line. Like, the chances were there for Notre Dame to close out that game. I think that's what's the most frustrating part about this.
Well, the thing now for Notre Dame, as you just saw in the graphic, they're in serious jeopardy of missing the college football playoff, along with some other teams who made appearances last year, were expected to make some noise this year. We're going to talk more about that later on, but I mean, there's certainly concern, I think, for Marcus Freeman. He's just trying to do anything he can to calm things down. There were a lot of other fantastic matchups, as Sam previewed a little earlier on, though. Tennessee and Georgia meeting at Neyland. There aren't many better atmospheres in all of college football to host a game like this early on in the season.
There's not. That place was rocking for Tennessee, Georgia, and Similar to how the Fighting Irish were right there to win that game, probably should have in my opinion. The same could be said for the Vols, who got off on the front foot. They were looking, like the better team in the early stages of this game. And then unfortunately, it's a Max Gilbert missed field goal from 44 yards out that gave the Vols a chance to win it. He can't convert, and then Georgia capitalizes and wins in overtime. And the Bulldogs, just year in, year out, get the better of the Vols no matter what. But a big takeaway for me in this game is that Tennessee hung with Georgia. I mean, going into the season, Luke, there were questions as to whether the Vols should have even been ranked.
Aguilar.
He's the real deal. So even though it's a loss for Tennessee, they showed that they're going to compete in this conference, and I think made a statement in that sense.
Right, and I think there was so much negative energy after the way that the game went to Ohio State in the first round of the college football playoff last year. Is Tennessee falling? They're becoming little brother a little bit in the SEC. And Aguilar, I mean, what a fantastic pickup, because he's completely revolutionized, I think, the outlook for Vols fans when they look at this team, and they're rightfully ranked, maybe ranked too low to start the year at 23 in the preseason AP poll. What this game really proves to me, though, Sam, is Gunnar Stockton. He is the real deal. He is the heir apparent to Carson Beck, leading this Bulldogs offense, because he showed in this game he has some moxie. This team came back from multiple deficits to make this a competitive game.
This was an awesome quarterback matchup. The 4 touchdowns for Aguilar, though, and that long ball he has in his repertoire, linking up with Brazel multiple times with that deep ball, really stood out to me as well. You see what the SEC is looking like early in the season.
You may as well just throw the AP
look how many ranked teams there are. South Carolina, not ranked, but, they're here to play.
They were number 11 a week ago.
Right.
Before this past week of games. It just shows you
that's still
how much talent is in
team.
this conference. It really is. You win the SEC, you're probably the favorite to win it all.
Yeah, and Tennessee and Georgia, I think, both prove that. They'll be in that race. Georgia gets the better of Tennessee in overtime. A game that almost needed overtime, but did not, thanks to great execution by Georgia Tech in the final moments, was Georgia Tech taking down Clemson. This never happens. The Yellow Jackets can never take down the Tigers, but it finally changed on Saturday. This was a massive upset. I don't care, how many people say, well, we knew Georgia Tech was a good team and could pull off this upset. Clemson was a team that was considered a national championship favorite, and they now have 2 losses. This was a notable scoreline this weekend.
Yeah, Cade Klubnik underwhelming once again. Not only does Clemson have 2 losses, Cade Klubnik also kind of out of that Heisman conversation at this point of the year. And Georgia Tech, Sam, I know you said, maybe they were undervalued a little bit, but I don't know who was undervaluing them. I watched that first game against Colorado, and I was severely underwhelmed with the way that offense looked. Haynes King was not that good in that game. They come away with kind of a lucky win early on in the season, and then this is really the first test that they have all year long. And credit to the Yellow Jackets. I mean, they really showed out, and I think now they're going to get the respect that they deserve as a team to watch in the ACC. That being said, I think, there's still a lot of work to do as we get deeper into the season.
I would argue that Haynes King is my favorite quarterback in the country right now.
He's fun to watch.
I love watching him because this dude is just a beast. He proved it last year in that 8 overtime game against Georgia where he was just putting his body on the line. You don't see quarterbacks do that. He's basically running back 1 for them. He rushed for over 100 yards,
He's
over
led them in
20
rushing 2 out of 3
carries.
games.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was fun to watch because he can sling it, he can run, which, not a lot of quarterbacks have that ability like he does. And I'm very concerned with Clemson now because these slow starts are bad.
They're playing for their season against Syracuse on Saturday.
I agree, and I think they'll whoop Syracuse, but that's a different story. I think they'll come out motivated and get the job done back at home. You see how the ACC is panning out so far. Tigers 1-2. There you see it, and that's concerning for a team that was favored to win the conference. These slow starts out of the gate. They did the same thing against Troy. They were down 16-0 in that game.
They have been behind in every single game this year, which is really, when you think about the expectations coming into the season, Sam, that's crazy. To think that this team has been trailing by a large deficit every single time they've stepped on the field this year.
And early on, it's looking like perhaps Miami and Florida State, the favorites in the ACC now, the way it's shaping out. But still a lot of season left and still a lot of show left here on No Pulp. Coming up next, it'll be must-see TV. It'll be a war. Luke Burgess versus Andrew Della Piana in the juicer. This will be a whole lot of fun. Stick around. And welcome back to No Pulp. It's my favorite time of the show, and I hope it is yours as well.
Of course.
Time for the Juicer. I'm Sam Reis. He's Luke Burgess. We're now joined by Luke's rival right now, Andrew Della.
In all facets.
This is going to be electric.
It's going to be a war.
It's going to be a war and a little house rivalry here. All right, first question, worth 1 point. I'll decide who I think has the best response. Most underwhelming team performance of the weekend. We're going to you first, Luke.
Yeah, Sam, it's got to be South Carolina. And listen, I understand that they lose Lenora Sellers, a Heisman favorite potentially early on in the game. But you cannot lose by 24 if you're a top 15 team in the country just because you lose your QB1. What that shows me is that this team is severely underwhelming. It did not deserve to be in that spot, albeit to a strong Vanderbilt team with some strong pieces, but an unranked Vanderbilt team. That's just the reality of the situation. You can't lose this game 31-7 after you lose your top guy. That's not top 15 stuff.
Yeah, Vanderbilt jumps, though, into that ranking at 20. Lenora Sellers, the guy that came in, Tyler Dottie, they didn't score a single point on 10 possessions in that second half. I'll just say that. But the team that you gave me that kind of leveled up on a platter is the Clemson Tigers. What happened to the Clemson Tigers, right? Coming in as the number 4 team in the country this season. Severely underwhelming again, this time against Georgia Tech. Sam hit the nail on the head in the last segment. This team trailing 16-0 to Troy, 13-0 to Georgia Tech. Kate Klubnik has been embarrassing.
I want to just point out that it says the most underwhelming team performance of the weekend.
Yeah, the weekend.
They lost by a field goal. They lost by a field goal.
I'm aware. They still lost.
Loss.
They have 2 losses now. What gives you any confidence that this team is going to be good going forward?
All right. Let's calm down. We're already getting heated here. I see both sides of the argument, but I do have to award the first point to Luke here. I think at the end of the day, South Carolina basically no-showed. At least Clemson made that a game
their quarterback
after underwhelming early on. Yeah, but they didn't have their quarterback, but they completely, just faltered in that game. Clemson was there with a chance to win against a solid Georgia Tech team. So first point goes to Luke. He has a 1-0 lead. We'll now start with you, Andrew. You're still alive for your question 2. What team has most exceeded their preseason expectations up to this point?
Preseason expectations, it's a team that went 2-10 a season ago, only got 8 receiving votes in the AP poll. It's the Florida State Seminoles, guys. Look, Mike Norvell has completely turned around this program. This was a team that got less votes this year than Toledo in the preseason poll. What do they do in week 1 with their transfer quarterback in Thomas Castellanos? They take out Alabama in a huge win to jump them up into top 15. Look, guys, this number 7 ranking is the highest of the week 4 AP poll for a team that was unranked in the preseason since 1989. It has been a long time. Florida State has exceeded expectations, taken care of business, and now the Seminoles are back.
All right, Luke.
No secret, obviously, that a win against the Kalen DeBoer Alabama team does not hold the weight that it did when Saban was in charge. I think it's the Oklahoma Sooners just because of the fact that they brought in a lot of new pieces. And sure, you could say John Mateer was great at Washington State and he's been good for Oklahoma, but this team shot up the rankings and they are not. I didn't even know who Florida State was playing in that video. That
shut up the rankings. They went 7 spots. They're
like playing hopscotch.
Meanwhile,
Oklahoma's 3-0 in the SEC, easily the best conference in the country. Oklahoma's jumped up near the top 10. They've had a great start to the year.
All right, I like both arguments here, but this time I do have to go with Andrew. Florida State was atrocious last season.
Went 2-10.
Castellanos, I had no faith in him. I don't think anyone did, and they're playing really well right now. Andrew, you have taken the lead.
I like to hear
now
that,
an important third question, worth 3 points. We're starting with you again,
right.
Andrew. Which player has emerged as a legit Heisman candidate?
Well, I think the big verb you use there is emerge. Who's been the best player to put their team into a chance to win that Heisman Trophy? It's the guy you just named. John Mateer from Oklahoma has been phenomenal at his time with Oklahoma. They've been boomer sooner as of late. Look, this guy was already one of the best players in college football at Washington State.
In a conference with 2 teams.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody heard of him. Then he comes to the SEC and he shows up, he shows out, and he shows that he is one of the best players. Look, the way this guy has revolutionized this Sooner offense and has showed up. He's got a rushing touchdown, a passing touchdown in 9 straight games. His stock was at plus 300 before the season even started. He's now the number 2 right now in the best odds, my friend. He has elevated this team to a new level.
Mateer's been great, but let's talk about a guy who was actually the favorite last season and then was completely written off. Carson Beck at Georgia was leading that offense. And I think everyone expected him to be a top guy contending for the Heisman last season. Was severely disappointing, I would say. And then, I mean, just a hell of a 12 months to this guy. His girlfriend breaks up with him. He gets robbed.
Wonder who that was.
He transfers to Miami, and everyone's like, this guy's kind of like a system quarterback now. All he's done is lead Miami to be one of the most exciting teams through the first
10 prospect last year.
First 3 weeks of the season, Miami's been absolutely fantastic. And now he is tied in odds with John
really good
Mateer.
last year, emerging.
All right. I like the debate here, but we have to decide who takes question 3. And I got to go with Andrew.
Yes!
Andrew wins the juicer. John Mateer is more impressive, emerging as a Heisman candidate. Carson Beck, a little bit more of a known commodity with more talent around him, too. Congratulations, my friend. Celebrate right now. All right, we'll be back after a moment. We're going to play a game of Would You Rather. Luke and I are going camping. I don't know what that means. We'll explain next.
Welcome to my house. Lately, not my happy place. Everybody's pretty tired of each other. The parents were not themselves. My little brothers were morphing into small creatures. The walls were closing in. Clearly, a case of too much family, too close, 24/7. And there's a lot of that going around right now. If this sounds like your house, try going someplace new. YourLifeYourVoice.org. You'll find lots of ideas to help you handle the family stresses of being confined to close quarters. YourLifeYourVoice.org. It might not get you out of the house, but it could help you find a little more breathing room.
Welcome back into our CitrusTV studio. Luke Burgess alongside Sam
defeated.
Reis. I am a little defeated. I'm sad inside, but I'm happy on the outside. That's what I have to present because I'm going camping, and I love the outdoors, Sam. You know this about me. You know, I'm a crunchy guy, and we look like we're having a lot of fun there. Maybe I would trade the marshmallows for some granola bars, a little bit more healthy. But I am a big fan of what our producers put together here. We've got some Would You Rather questions because that's exactly what you do when you go out camping in the middle of nowhere. No phone service, so you just got to rely on your wits.
Yeah, what are you
going to do?
I'll
start with the quarterback position, Sam. If you were to pick a quarterback right now, and this is not on the good side of things, who would you rather have? Mr. Endorsements himself, Arch Manning, or Mr. NIL, Nico Iamaleava?
It's a good way to put it. I'm going with what you called Mr. Endorsement, Arch Manning still. At the end of the day, Arch Manning, yes, he's off to a bit of a troublesome start. He hasn't been terrible, though, either. And so, he did have a very good performance against San Jose State, I thought. And I know it's a bad opponent, but he did throw for 4 touchdowns there. Unfortunately, backed it up with a not-so-great performance against UTEP. He still has a good offense around him. I still like the system he's in. I still have faith in Arch. With Nico, it's a lost cause at UCLA. I mean, they're now without a coach. They're 0-3. They've been an absolute
CBS is writing about him going in where he's going to go in the transfer portal.
It's all over. Like, Arch Manning still has hope going forward with Texas. For Iamaleava, who knows what's next? And
maybe a volleyball career.
Right,
I heard
exactly. He's had an
in
interception in each game so far. It's been a little bit of a disaster up until this point. All right, well, so that's my pick for who I would rather go with in the quarterback room. But now let's shift the conversation over to the wide receivers, Luke. Ryan Williams or Jeremiah Smith? This is a tough one, isn't it?
It's really hard. Honestly, this is the complete opposite. And it's way harder to pick between 2 good players than 2 bad players. But for me, it's got to be Ryan Williams. I just harken back to what he did last year in that Georgia game. That sticks with me like nothing else. And he showed it up so far with an amazing start to his sophomore campaign. 195 yards and 10 receptions, as you see right there. 2 touchdowns as well in 2 games. And the thing that separates him from Smith to me is his creativity. Because this guy, yes, he's an absolute weapon outside, no doubt about it. He could also be a slot receiver in the NFL, and I think he would absolutely flourish just because of the shiftiness. He's a little bit of a smaller frame. I think that's really the only thing that he has against Jeremiah Smith.
Sure.
But, I mean, the guy is just so fun to watch
he's
play.
still
Look at the way he runs.
too.
It looks like he's floating. It's like he's almost skating on ice. He's really fantastic. He's just got that pure athleticism for a guy who's only 19 years old.
Sure.
Really impressive. So he's my pick against Smith.
Okay.
Both great options, but he's the one I'm going with.
Yeah, I think Smith personally is the best receiver in the nation, but Williams great as well.
Absolutely. And on the running back side of things, that's where you make your money in those big, important downs. For your running backs, would you rather have Justice Haynes or Jeremiah Love, two speedsters who have made huge impacts this season?
Yeah, so I think Haynes so far, stats-wise, has been the better running back, but I would rather actually take Jeremiah Love in my offense, and I think he fits really well with Notre Dame too. He really stepped up his game as well over the weekend against Texas A&M, and you're seeing why right here he's so effective, because he can be a threat in the pass game too.
Yeah.
And he's so shifty. He had 4 catches in each of the first 2 games as well for the Irish. That was for about 30 yards too. He had over 50 receiving yards, and then he's so quick and powerful
His
too.
yards per reception are basically Ryan Williams' numbers.
Yeah, it's nuts. I mean, he could be a receiver too. So I like that two-way ability with Jeremiah Love, where he's more than just a running back. I like that versatility, and that's why I'm going with Jeremiah Love here.
The only question I would have is how is his team 0-2?
Right.
They've got a guy this good, and they don't have a win yet. It shows me maybe Marcus Freeman not utilizing him to his full potential.
Yeah, I think you maybe have a point there. And one last would you rather here. We're going with a couple of head coaches. Who are you going to take here?
This is my favorite one. We got Lane Kiffin or James Franklin.
Yep.
Two guys I would not want.
Kind of opposites, right? Like in the
James Franklin, boring, never wins in big games, and Lane Kiffin seems like he would be better off in Theta Chi than on the sidelines. Shout out our producer Connor. But Lane Kiffin has to be my pick here, simply because of the fact James Franklin just cannot win in the big game. He has consistently put up duds. Penn State gets more recruiting prowess through the fact that they're Penn State than what James Franklin actually does at the program. Kiffin has developed some exciting players. Look at what Jackson Dart, he's got a lot of hype around him. Obviously, he hasn't played yet in the NFL, but I think at some point he's going to take over for the Giants, who are just struggling to no end once again with Russell Wilson as the quarterback. Kiffin did that. You got to give him some credit. You look at the all-time records there, obviously bigger sample size for Franklin, but the percentage goes in favor of Lane Kiffin. They're about the same, but Franklin, he's not a killer.
I think he's a little bit of a fool, in my opinion.
And he's like yelling at fans after they lose big games and stuff. He's soft.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm not sure if Kiffin has, proved himself enough either. I think these are two.
Well, neither of them have proved themselves.
Well, sure, and Kiffin's kind of a fool. So I'd rather take the kind of guy who's more
and James Franklin's biggest game in his career loses to Notre Dame and Steve Angeli. That's an absolute joke. Come on.
I guess. Sure. I just think Lane Kiffin's a little too much for me.
They're both way over the top. We have some over-the-top plays coming up after a short break. Our plays of the week and our final words. It's all on the other side. No Pulp rolls on in just a moment.
Here we go. We're going to go out there in the rain. You're going to get wet. All right, here we go. Okay, quick. Oh, yeah. Yes. So much fun. Mwah. We're getting so wet.
We're still with you here on No Pulp alongside Luke Burgess. I'm Sam Reis. We're winding down here, but that also means it's time to have a little bit of fun. Plays of the week, always a good time.
Oh yeah, it's the best part of the show. Just to see some guys go absolutely nuts in college football. I mean, that's what we'd be doing if we were back home.
Right. All right. Let's get to my play first. We're going to Utah and Wyoming, and this play was absolutely unreal. Devin Dampier, he whiffs on a pass, picks it up, spins around, throws a dart to the end zone. That's kind of absurd right there.
I mean, I want to talk about the defense here. What is Wyoming doing? Get that ball and sack him. Unbelievable, but to get that throw in there into tight coverage too. By the way, easily could have been picked off. Kind of bad play for the DB, I'm not going to lie.
That's an absolute dime, though, and for him to kind of whiff on a pass, he picks up his own fumble, and then he was nearly sacked by 2 guys. That's an incredible
Unbelievable
play.
throw. But I do think he got helped out by his wide receiver there. It was good stuff all around.
It was great all around. Yeah, exactly.
My play of the week, we got to go out to Mizzou and Ahmad Hardy. This is an absolutely ridiculous play. 71 yards to the house, breaks a couple tackles, another stiff arm, and he's off to the races. And honestly, the main reason I felt like I could not include Hardy this week, 250 rushing yards in this game. Absolutely unbelievable. And this 71-yard scamper, as our producers so nicely put it, that was kind of the capitalization on that absolutely incredible 3-touchdown afternoon. He's a running back to watch. I know we're talking about a bunch of these QBs for the Heisman, but watch out for Ahmad Hardy if he keeps cooking like he is right now.
All right, I love it, Luke, and it's now time for our final words. And I go right to UCLA football, who's obviously off to a disastrous start to the season. And the firing of head coach Deshaun Foster really tells you all you need to know. But before you point to the man in charge, I can't help but really laugh at the quarterback, Nico Iamaleava. The reality is, he is getting absolutely what he deserves, though. And in a team sport, putting yourself above the team is never a good idea. NIL is only making the ego of players across the college football landscape even bigger, and Nico is a perfect example. Apparently, being the starting quarterback at Tennessee wasn't enough. Apparently, $2 million wasn't enough. Instead, he's reportedly getting less than that with UCLA. It certainly felt like at the time it was a big mistake to ask for more money from the Vols, and after a terrible start with the Bruins, his stock only continues to fall. And while Nico could have just put his greed aside, instead he's now stuck playing for a winless team without a coach at an empty Rose Bowl. Remember, folks, no matter what you think, no player is ever bigger than the team, and I tip my cap to Tennessee head coach Josh Heupel for recognizing just that in the offseason, and I would say things are going a bit better for Tennessee than Nico and UCLA right now.
Now, there are never many things proven to be true this early on in the college football season. In fact, questions are the most quintessential part of why we have so much to talk about this week. 3 weeks in, there is one thing that is certain, though. No one is truly in the path of Ohio State winning back-to-back national championships. Quarterback Julian Sayon has looked better every single week. The Buckeyes pulled out a win against the #1 team in the nation at the time in Texas, and the only 2 top 10 opponents they have left are #9 Illinois and #2 Penn State. True freshman Bo Jackson seems like his name might be deserved, and they have one of the best receivers in the nation in Jeremiah Smith. The biggest piece of it all, last year Ryan Day finally won it all without a win in their biggest game of the season. Ohio State lost to Michigan and still managed to win it. This year, the team plays at the Big House. I think that the Buckeyes dismantle the Wolverines and on the road and ride that momentum all the way to the finish line. Ohio State back-to-back in the national championship.
All right. I mean, I can't say that's the craziest thing to say because of, how many returners they had and how well they're playing. Obviously,
Penn State doesn't pose a threat. I already said my thoughts on James Franklin.
Maybe. I mean, I need to see, some more challenging games on the docket for them coming up. I need to see how they do there before I'm completely on board with you, if I'm being totally honest.
I just think Ryan Day's performance last season, he's gotten over the hump. Everyone knows that Ohio State is a tough football team. I think they're going to be hard to beat. And you see, just year in, year out, this team just does such a great job of developing elite college football and NFL talent.
All right, he has Ohio State winning it all, back-to-back champs. We're out of time here on No Pulp. That was a fun, fast 30 minutes for my partner, Luke Burgess, our producer, Connor McGahan. I'm Sam Reis, saying so long.